Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BBC Spews. On the 31st of March, huzzah, we're still here. We're still kicking Susan, you rattled slut bucket. We're still here. How is everyone? Decent crowd in already? Hello to all the regulars. I'm not name dropping you all. It's all the same people. Now you're all regulars. It's like a comfortable pub with a border terrier in the corner that drinks stout and everybody knows its name. We don't need to go through. Nice to see Whiskey Straight Al's back in though. Al, I hope you're doing better. I know Whiskey Straight Al was a little bit ill for a while. All the regulars are in. Blue Van Man, Davey Harris, Jeff Wedden, Carl Burton, Scouse Orby, This Is England, Vivian Needle, Nurgle's Left Tentacle, Ralph Cray, David Petts, Boondock Shiners, Two-Tone, Derek. Everybody else I've missed, sorry, not doing the lot of yous. It's a bit busy in here. I'm just reading the Twitch at the bottom. Oh yeah, I don't plug my stuff enough, do I? I need to plug Twitch because if Susan shows her ass and flings me off the platform, I'm well aware that 90% of the people that watch this are gonna suddenly have absolutely no bootneck to watch. So yeah, there's the link. Make sure you click it, because if Susan shows her ass and I'm instantly vamonosed off the fucking platform, well, what you're going to do on a weeknight when there's no booze in, because it's, because most people that watch me actually work for a fucking living. It's all right if you're a Mick Philpott. He can always amuse himself by drinking 12 to 15 cans of strong lager and smoking a few dozen rollies on a Tuesday night. But most of you've got things to do, right? So you need sober entertainment between 7 and 9 p.m. on a weeknight, don't you? Or you could just do what Rodders does and play with himself. But you can't do that for very long. You can't do that. I mean, maybe you could when you were 19, but now you can't play with yourself all night at my age. Tears would be coming out your eyes and sawdust would be coming out your balls after more than, 2 or 3 tugs. It's not something an older man can pull off. Pull off. An older man can pull himself off, but only once or twice a week, I find. Anyway, we didn't come here to talk about masturbation, although, yeah, we did. We frequently talk about things like that. I'm not a very mature fella, am I? You can take the bootneck out of the car, but you can't instill mature intellectual thoughts in his head 24 hours a day. Plus, you do need to relax and not only fixate on the news, don't you? A bit of lowbrow, crude humour is required to keep you sane. Because if you just read news all day like me, I don't know how I haven't had an aneurysm, a rage aneurysm. It's even worse on Twitch if you're straight to their radar. I didn't know that. I thought Twitch were relatively civilized. No? All right. They're all in on it, aren't they? They're all in on it. Fucking Silicon Valley. If they're situated in that sort of 30 square mile area in just up the road from where I live, they're all in on it together, aren't they? So it doesn't matter. Yeah, Amazon own makes sense. They're all fucking Baldy Bezos. Hasn't he got enough money, Baldy? Cue Ball's got enough cash. No, I'm not talking about Will Smith's wife. That was yesterday. I was talking about Bezos there. They're all in on it, aren't they? So there's nothing more we can do. But like I said, what's the alternative? I'm not a white-pilled fella who thinks we're winning this war. I'm convinced we've already lost and we just don't know it yet. So all we can do is do what I do, use their platforms, despite the fact that they hamstring you and hardly anybody watches it. At least the ones that know how to find me. And it doesn't matter if they don't advertise it and they ban you for saying certain things. You find a workaround. It's like the French resistance under nasty occupation. You've just got to find a workaround. And if that involves referring to the boys that frequent Allen's snack bar or the Golden Bell End churches or any of the other verboten words using clever or not very clever or not very subtle workarounds, then so be it. So it is, isn't it? We need grey pills. The black ones are too trippy. We've already lost, lads. We've already lost. Definitely. I mean, this is where the full-blown white reactionary nationalists are correct. They are correct to say that we were never asked any of this. It is true. If you were to just ask the general public for the last 30 years, should we have more immigrants or less? The general public would unanimously say less. I don't need to say anything weird, like, again, which is where I part ways with people like that. Should we deport people that were born here just because they happen to look a bit different? That obviously, I part ways with them on that. And I think you should too, because I don't believe things are so bad. We're all sat here relatively fat and happy, and therein lies the problem. The exact same reason why I don't support such drastic measures is the same reason why the general public can't be asked, because ultimately we are still too comfortable, aren't we? It's predominantly down to technology, but we live better lives than the King of England did a century ago. It's fucking amazing. I was thinking that while I was doing my laundry just the other day. It's like nowadays to do laundry, do you know how much of a ball ache it is doing hand laundry? When you're a bootneck and you join up as a recruit, they make you do hand dobby for the first 2 weeks, which I'm sure it was harder in the 80s. But yeah, 2 weeks now, you do a foundation phase, which is fucking easy compared to, it's not the rigorous, grueling physical torture that it is later in the game. Foundation phase was set up, I think, to slowly ease people into it, because apparently in the 80s, you used to get off the train at Lympston and the fucking PTI would meet you there and go, "Follow me, you cunts," and he'd just start running. And apparently, if you didn't get to the front of the camp, it's about a 3.5 mile run from Exmouth train station. Apparently, if you didn't get to the camp in a decent time with all your bags, you'd get to the camp and they'd put you back on the train and say, "Fuck off, we don't want you, you shit." Obviously, we had to stop doing that because the training bleed was so high. You can see how they've desperately tried not to drop the standards in the Corps. They've dropped the standards all across the armed services, but you can see how they've desperately tried not to drop the standards in the Corps, because even in my lifetime, they've made massive changes to desperately narrow that aperture and demand more of the recruits before they even turn up, because it's so expensive and they're trying to save money. So when I was going through all of my recruit PRMC, Potential Royal Marines course, and all of that in the mid to late 90s, it was literally turn up at fucking Lympston and get tortured for a week. Then I remember in about 2004 or something, you'd see recruits being issued boots when they passed the PRMC, which is a big advantage, because when I joined up, it was like for the first 2 weeks, I had feet like fucking, I don't know what's extremely sensitive, Michael Jackson's hands. My feet were fucked, because you join up and you get given your boot, and then the next day you're doing a 4 mile booted run and it's just chiseling your feet a bit. So they changed little things to try and get more people through without changing the basic requirements. And then they started issuing lads boots, and then they started doing a pre-PRMC, which didn't used to happen. And I remember that happened in about 2007 or something. Like I got a jolly at a careers office in Middlesbrough, which is funny, isn't it? A careers office in Middlesbrough. For anybody else who's a bootneck, going to Middlesbrough for a month would be like deployments. Like they'd spend a month in Middlesbrough and go, "Fuck me, send me back to Baghdad." But for me, because I'm from Borough, I got a month-long jolly in the careers office in Middlesbrough. And that was when I noticed they were actually sending them on a pre-PRMC. So they'd make them go to the RMR Tyne, which is Royal Marines Reserve Detachment in Newcastle. And they'd thrash them for a night there and ascertain whether or not they thought they could actually pass a PRMC. So they started doing that before they even send them on the PRMC, because they're trying to save money and get more of a percentage of the lads through recruits, which is funny, isn't it? And I do remember doing that. And in the bleep test, I beat like 90% of the teenagers there. And this is when I'm like, I don't know, 28 or 29 or something, like getting on. And I still beat all the fucking scrawny, skinny streaks of piss that were there. So, sort of embarrassing. But it just goes to show how things change, doesn't it? Anyway, total random blather about the call there. They are correct to say that we were never asked, is the point I'm getting at. But as I've said, the reason we're still comfortable is the exact reason why no one's going to do anything about it. So we have already lost. We were never asked. The dinghies haven't stopped. They've just stopped talking about the dinghies. And nobody cares. The masses are too comfortable. Thanks to technology. Like I said, oh yeah, that was where I went off on a tangent. Laundry. I was just thinking it the other day. That's one fantastic example of how technology has just made it so that we don't care. Because first few weeks of training, I had to do hand laundry. It was a fucking nightmare. And I just took this massive basket of laundry down to the washing machine and threw it in. And it does it all for you. And then the only hard part is changing it over. And then the dryer dries it all for you. You don't even have to hang it out on a clothesline because that takes a bit of effort and use of pegs, which I remember doing for me nana in the 80s. And then you just pull it out and then you fold up and put it away. It's like everything's too easy now. Eating well is too easy. Drinking well is too easy. Doing household chores is too easy. Everyone's got them fucking Roombas nowadays, those robot vacuum cleaners, which, you know, me and my missus refuse because we actually don't mind doing a bit of admin. But everything's too easy. So you can't expect people, while they're well fed and entertained constantly by Netflix and the internet and not doing their own laundry and not hoovering their own fucking carpets, you can't expect people to kick off, do you? You just can't. We are too comfortable. And as I've said this to Simon Sideways and Paz when I was on the stream with them once, just get used to it. We've already lost. Until people's fucking children are going hungry, nobody's going to care about it. Until knife crime and gang rape and mass murder and starvation are commonplace, even more commonplace than they are in some areas of London now, you will not be able to rouse the people because we're too happy. We're all fat and happy. And it is a good thing, which is why I'm at this weird place where I'm constantly bouncing around in my mind about, are we doing all right or are we doing terribly? It's difficult, isn't it? We are doing all right. Objectively, the way we live is fantastic. But we could be doing so much better. So I'm black-pilled. It's like, we're not going to be able to rouse the masses to make a difference until everything is fucking terrible. And by then it's too late anyway. So you just have to accept the fact it's going to kick off. And you're going to end up, there's going to be rolling battles in the fucking streets, Northern Ireland style, between, you know, white working class chavs and fucking Somalian immigrants. But you just have to wait for it to happen because we're not going to be able to fix it while we're all well fed and happy. So you might as well just do what I do and laugh about it and take the piss and just get on as well as you can. This is what I've always told people. Like, you know, you shouldn't get pathological about politics because that's what the woke are. I'm not pathological about politics. This I do for entertainment. It makes me laugh reading how fucked up the BBC is and how stupid Joe Biden is and how corrupt Trudeau is and how wet and incompetent Boris Johnson is. It makes me laugh. It gives me a rage boner and it makes me laugh. And then when I've stopped, I go out on the piss and I paint my minis and I go for long walks with my wife and I go to the gym and I enjoy my hobbies and I do a lot of reading and, you know, life's good. So don't get pathological about politics. I know a lot of people in this chat will be on the verge of being like a fucking nutty political activist because a lot of people on YouTube will sit there for years. And all they'll do all day is watch YouTube. Like, they'll go from me to Paz to Simon Sideways to We Got a Problem to Sargon, the Logacies, to everybody. Just go through them all. And if you're spending 5 or 6 hours a day just doing politics, seriously, just have a word with yourself. Life's too short to get your knickers in a twist about things you cannot change. So what you do is spend a couple of hours a day chuckling about the fucking stupidity and inanity of it. I especially like memes. There's quite a lot of you send me memes. I love memes. Some of them are funny as fuck. But it's what you should aim for. It's politics mixed with humour because ultimately we can't change it. And if you think you're going to be able to rouse the masses while everybody's still got Netflix, broadband and chicky fucking nugs, it's not going to happen. So just enjoy your life. And enjoy your hobbies and walk the dog and play with the kids and yourself. Not at the same time. Jimmy Savile, Gary Glitter, anyone from the BBC who sort of typed in BBC and ended up here. You guys especially, don't play with yourself while you're playing with your children. BBC, Guardian readers, the walk in general. You boys, just don't do it. Just be normal. Yeah, be normal. Woke people, stop it. And have you seen Laura Cousenberg's pay packet? Fuck me, that is unbelievable, isn't it? Again, you've just got to laugh, haven't you? You've got to laugh because people like her, they'll never be happy anyway. The more money she earns, well, that's just going to get put up her nose and spent on sex dwarves or whatever. So who fucking cares? Who cares? Cheers. Cheers. I said I've got enough money and I don't get any money off YouTube. I just get the money I earn from going to work. Or if you're doing life correctly, you don't need much money because people use money as a bandage to try and buy the happiness. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. The people who are skint are the ones who, no matter how much they earn, they'll always be skint because they have to shop for endorphins. If you're doing life properly, you don't need much cash. Because what do? It's like I go for a walk, that's free. I go to the gym, that's like, it's proper cheap in America. That's one bonus of the States. It's like $11 a month for America. In fact, I still haven't rejoined my local gym because you have to wear a mask. Can't answer that in a minute. You had to wear a mask. So I refused to fucking go in while that was required of me. So I bought myself a rowing machine. Best purchase I've ever made. There's something that cost me, but even then it was only like $300. So you don't need to have a lot of money. All the good stuff's free. And if you eat clean, and you take care of yourself, and you play with your kids, and you play with your dog, and you do your hobbies, and you read your book, and you do all the fun things in life, it's cheap. You don't even need to be rich. So I don't care or get envious of people like Laura Cousenberg's massive pay packet, because the more money those people make, the more they waste on sex dwarves, pills, and powders, fucking Colombian cuckoo dust, Peruvian marching powder. Do you know how corked and fucked up the City of London is? The City of London is a fucking swamp because they're all degenerates down there. It's like they're not happy people. So they work all day and then they're fucking miserable and then they fire a load of shit up the nose and tell themselves life's good because they live in the big city. These fucking people are miserable. Live a simple life. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm happy. I just living my life, eating clean, doing a lot of training, occasionally getting pissed. It's fucking cheap and it's easy. You don't need cars. You don't need jewels. You don't need fancy clothing. You just need to make your own morale. And envy has got no place in my ideology. I don't envy these people at all. I don't care if Laura Cousenberg can get paid £300,000 for talking absolute shit constantly. Good fucking luck to that silly mare. I still wouldn't want to swap places with Laura and Cousenberg. I'm quite comfortable not being a communist. Thank you very much. So fuck her. Yeah, London. All the big cities are swamps. Manchester, yeah, all of them. And if you were unfortunate enough to live in one, then again, do what I've told you. You've got to focus on yourself with laser focus and live your life. Eat clean, train a lot, do your hobbies, shut it all out. Don't resort to pills and drugs and booze if you can't handle it. Anything to try and cheer yourself up because it doesn't work. It just makes you feel worse in the long run and it'll tap you dry. Fuck them. It's the short version. Right, shall we actually do some news? I've just been talking shite for 25 minutes there. This one was sent to me on my website. Whoever sent me it, thanks very much. It's BBC related, so I can cover it on the BBC Spews. BBC admit an amending article to reveal woman killer suspect is male body. This is so funny because it's so obvious to anybody who's not a lunatic, right? They've recently been talking about, I've actually seen stories on the BBC about this in the past, saying, why is women's crime rates going through the roof? Right, like they're actually scratching their heads, going, why are women becoming more violent? Like they can't answer this difficult question. Why are women becoming more violent? Well, I'll tell you why. Yeah, I'll tell you why. I'm sure you clever people in the chat know the answer as well. You know why women are getting more violent? It's because some women have got a fucking set of plums. That's why. Plums gives you more testosterone and more aggression, and they are masculine traits. So the reason Harvey Mercelid, very feminine name, chopped up and killed a pensioner and then dismembered the poor fucker's body is because, despite this BBC insisting that it was a woman serial killer, it was actually a bloke called Harvey who was in fact a geezer bird. So, geezer bird, shortly after publication, the BBC article made no mention of the fact the killer is biologically male and only recently identified as female. On the 15th of March, at the bottom of the article was added to reflect the sex of the killer. Whoops, there you go. Serial killer with a fucking 8-inch clitoris and forearms like fucking Popeye. Ooh, didn't see that coming, did you? By the way, the GB News advert website is a bit shit. See how many adverts are on it? And then when you blow it up to try and get the text bigger, you just get although I'm impressed to know what I like. Look at that t-shirt. Don't worry, I've had both my shots and my booster. It's good how the Google knows what I like. But yeah, the GB News website's a bit pomp. It fucking doesn't work very well, does it? Squeezing the text up. Oh, there we go. Look. Oh, that's Harvey Marsland. Jesus Christ. You know that? Do you know who she looks like? Willem Dafoe with a hangover. Doesn't it? It looks like Willem Dafoe if he had a really fucking rough day. Like he yomped through the Vietnamese jungle for 11 years before he found another American patrol on Platoon. And then they quickly snapped a photo of him before he got back on the helicopter. There's Harvey. She is violent. Women. Any girls in the chat? Kate, Debs? Why are women so violent? Maggie, why is your sex so despicable? Why can't you just be nice like the men who've changed gender recently? So you fuckers get the blame for it. I'd be pissed. Camilla. It does look a bit like Camilla. I'd be pissed off me if I was a woman. Well, you can tell I'm not a woman because I don't talk like this, you cunts. My voice isn't deep enough to be a trans woman. It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's unbelievable. If I was a chick, I'd be seriously pissed off. Like, the men are making us look bad. Because that only works one way, doesn't it? Think of this logically. It only works one way. Because, tell me if I'm wrong, anyone can find a link. This is why the general public is skeptical about the trans athletes thing, because they keep saying trans athletes, support trans athletes. Just give your head a fucking shake and think about this for more than 2 seconds, right? Why do they keep saying trans athlete? And again, I might be wrong. I've never looked into this. I've just thought of it on a whim. Why do they keep saying trans athlete when it's not trans athlete? It appears to be exclusive. Correct me in the chat if you can find a story. Prove me wrong. It appears to be exclusive male to female athletes. If anyone can point me at female to male athletes that are fucking things up for everybody, then I'll hold my hands up, admit I was wrong, and we'll all go back to saying trans athletes. But this is my Bootneck's crusade of the day, is from now on, refuse to use the term trans athletes, because it's not trans athletes. It's not trans athletes that's ruining the Olympics or trans athletes that's ruining any sports. It's male to female trans women ruining sports. Name me one. Anybody who knows, is there a single female to male trans athlete? I'm trying to think of, there must be a sport. I did say apparently women are better at long distance swimming rather than the short distance one, the power for the sprinting. Are there any at all, female to male, that are dominating a male sport? Because if there aren't, we shouldn't be whinging about trans athletes. We should be whinging about male to female athletes and stop using the term trans athletes altogether. And every time someone says trans athletes, just say to them, no, but trans athletes aren't doing anything wrong. and they aren't ruining any sports because it seems to be entirely one-way street. Fatima Whitbread. Fatima Whitbread, yeah. When Fatima dies and they put her on the slab, maybe we should keep an eye out for something resembling a chopper. Maybe Fatima already had the baton, the relay baton, down her drawers. We'll never know. We'll never know. Serena's just lucky, isn't he? The reasons Venus and Serena were good at tennis is because of, again, it's for some reason it's controversial, but it's not controversial. It's just historical fact, biological fact. Venus and Serena Williams have benefited from the transatlantic slave trade because humans are like any other animal and they were selectively bred. I've talked about this before. Again, I think I was arguing with Matty in the chat at the time when he wasn't talking shit and making things up and we used to interact with him. They're selectively bred even on the ships because the ones who didn't retain muscle and fat were more likely to starve to death because they didn't feed them, obviously because they were chattel. So they were even selectively bred when they're on the ships going over there, and then they were selectively bred by the slave owners. And obviously, this is a biological fact. It's why race horses are worth so much money when they're grand champions. It's why Frankel, the wonder horse that never lost a race, fucking worth millions and millions. Shergar. It's because any creature, it's simple genetics, it's breeding. And if Michael Jordan has a kid with fucking Venus Williams, the kid's going to be a big fucker because that's how it works. And the same old thing, if I, being a relatively short 5'9", have sex with a fucking midget, the kid's going to be a short, hairy little bastard. Yeah, he might be a handsome fucker like daddy, but he's not going to be very tall. Right? And that's the way biology works. So Venus and Serena have just benefited, as have so many athletes over here in the United States. They've benefited from the transatlantic slave trade. And apparently, I said that once before, and someone sent me a text about it, saying that some famous US commentator said this back in the day and got sacked for it. And I don't understand why. He wasn't saying, I agree with treating people like property, or I think it's brilliant that we starve people on ships and force them into fucking servitude. All he said was a biological fact, and that is a fact. It works with everyone. Who's very tall? Stephen Merchant, as a kid with a very tall, athletic British Olympian, fucking Sally Gunnell, then the kid will be tall and fit. It's just the way it works. Nothing controversial about it. So anyway, there's another tangent. Love that story. Thanks for that one. So yeah, ladies, clean your act up, please. Ladies, clean your act up. I'm sick and tired of reading about you bitches killing and murdering and stabbing and raping. You know, the amount of women who rape defenseless women with their huge, throbbing woman choppers, it really is offensive to me. I'm against rape, so I'm against women. You couldn't make it up, could you? This is what I keep saying. The comedy writes itself. The comedy writes itself. You don't have to be witty or funny to do YouTube nowadays. You just have to sit there and read the drivel, the self-defeating, up is down, left is right. As I said yesterday, they refute themselves because their ideology is toxic and fucked up and upside down and back to front. And when you say things like I just did for a quip, I am against rape, so I'm against women, it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense because they're the ones always going, oh, yeah, put the fucking female rapist in the women's prison, you bigoted bastard. Like, you're the bad guy. When you say, hang on, Julie was called Frank up until last year, and Frank had a penchant for donkeying one into unwilling female victims. Therefore, it's not logical to put Julie in a fucking women's prison. They'll say, you bigoted bastard. You horrible cunt. Like everything I say, people laugh and go, haha, that was funny. I'm not even joking. I'm just reading you what happened. Like that happened. That happened. Julia Bradbury talked about it on talk radio. That happened. So it's not like some sort of witty quip I've just come up with. They do this. You get fucking women with a big throbbing fucking lob on, donkeying them into women in women's prisons, and if you say that's a bad idea, they'll be up in arms. Up on Channel 4 going, here today, Bootneck said something bigoted. What did he say? He said fucking birds with massive veiny throbbers shouldn't be allowed in fucking women's prisons. I mean, it's not like I'm coming up with this shit, is it? It's not like Graham Lynham, Father Ted shit, where he sat down with a pen and just wrote a dead good comedy by himself. I'm just reading you the shit I get off the BBC. It's lazy. It's lazy. It's easy. Absolute lunacy. The world's gone fucking mad. Anyway, I have to go soon and return that call. So let's do one more story. This one I wanted to cover briefly, even though we're in dodgy ground, ladies and gentlemen. We are in dodgy ground because we happen to be talking about a series of ruthless, methodical tortures and rapes. And if you bring attention to it, it's a bit of a thorny issue, isn't it? Because the people doing the raping weren't blue-eyed, lantern-jawed love machines like me. No. They were contemptible, swarthy chaps from other places. So it's conscientious talking about it. So what I'm going to do is, as I always do, I'm going to skip over any mentions of the M word and the I word, and I'll anglicise any of the usual suspect names, and we'll all go through this wonderful delusion as if we aren't all being constantly censored and shit all over by the woke twats that run the world. All right? Because this story needs to be spread around. So let's quickly read it. The last of 47 police officers investigated over their handling of the allegations of child sex abuse in Rotherham has been cleared of misconduct. Of course he has. Fucking Dave. Dave should be in the nick himself, not at work, in a fucking cell. Dave has been accused of not following up tip-offs about grooming gangs in the town. Yeah, well, he didn't. But to be honest, can you blame him? Because none of the politicians did, and none of the councillors did, and none of the mayors did, and the government covered it up, and the opposition covered it up, and the police chiefs covered it up, and the media covered it up, and BBC and Sky News and Channel 4 covered it up, and everybody in the woke establishment and the woke elite covered it all up because they think not hurting the feelings of anyone that happens to have a bit of a tan is more important than seeing little children get burned with blowtorches, get the fucking fingernails pulled out, and then get gorilla fucked up against a wheelie bin by 50 Moroccans. So fucking sorry. Priorities, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Stick that child on the fucking rack. That's the world we're living in, ladies and gents. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to go on any further. That's basically what happened, right? We all know. But out of morbid curiosity, I'll continue. Rotherham MP Sarah Champion, who was unceremoniously fucking binned out the Labour Party for daring to talk about truth, for daring to state facts honestly. Sarah Champion got shit all over by the loony Labour Party, who are so decadent and corrupt and filthy and depraved. I would rather let Chairman fucking Mao run the country than anybody in the British Labour Party. They are the scum of the earth. I'd rather have Fred West round to do my paving, Harold Shipman as my GP, and fucking Diane Abbott to do my accounting. That's how fucking bad the Labour Party are. I wouldn't trust them to run a piss up in a brewery, a bath, or an egg and spoon race. They are the fucking scum of the earth. Incompetence I can even handle. I can handle incompetence, but I cannot handle corruption, hatred, spite, decadence, depravity, sexual deviancy, all of the shit that you can lay at the door of the modern Labour Party. So maybe that's why they didn't follow up on the grooming gangs, because they can smell their own. They're all rapists and sexual deviants themselves, aren't they? Mr. Walker, who retired in 2018, was among the officers investigated by Independent, about as independent as a clingy mother at a baby beauty contest. That's how independent the IOPC is. We knew before this ended, this farce, that none of them were going to get charged with anything. We knew. So who cares? Who cares? We already knew this was happening. We knew it was going to be a stitch up because you don't get justice. The only justice you get is the justice you take. When the politicians are all in on it, the Home Office is in on it, the Home Secretary's in on it, the Prime Minister's in on it, the opposition's in on it, all the Tories are in on it, all the Labour Party are in on it, all the SNP and the Greens are in on it, and the Lib Dems, and all the mainstream media, and all the fucking news outlets, and Silicon Valley, and everybody. Why do you think the IOPC is going to go, yeah, we definitely found some corruption here? Give your fucking head a shake. This is what I was talking about earlier. We've already lost. You don't get justice. British justice is dead. American justice is dead. Lady Justice doesn't wear a blindfold anymore. She wears a pussy hat and she fasts for Ramadan. And that's just the way it is. All right? The report found at least 1,400 ago. Yeah, triple that. Triple that. And South Yorkshire Police failed to prioritise the issue. I read the book Easy Meat, right? And there's a part in that book where two coppers rock up at a church car park, an old car park, and they've come across a fucking little kid being forced to suck a bloke off. And the copper winds the window down and says to the fella, what's happening here, mate? And the bloke says, she's sucking me off. And they all laugh about it. And the coppers just wind the window up and drive off. That happened. The lass has come forward and told that story. And these guys are innocent. No, didn't do anything wrong. Who was the bloke driving the car? Who was the bloke driving that car? Find me the man who drove the car that saw a little girl being forced to suck a swarthy foreign man's fucking plums. And find me the coppers who drove the car. Give them 20 fucking year. Job done. No need for a 10-year investigation. Find me the blokes who drove that car. How hard can it be? If we had a government that cared about the native working people of this country, we'd be able to find that out in a day. It'd take me a day. If I was the Prime Minister, I'd get on the fucking phone, find me who them blokes were, go around that woman's house, get some names, get yourself to the police station. I want to find out who those blokes were in that car, and I want all of them jailing by next week. Easy. Easy. But no one cares because it's a nest of vipers and corruption. The IOPC found Paul Trier had a case to answer. 5 faced sanctions, but no officers have lost their jobs or faced criminal charges. You know what? Let's just fucking call it there. I'm done. I'm not reading any more of this fucking shit. Sarah Champion got stitched up. No policeman got done. Nobody's been charged. Nobody's been fired. There was at least 100,000 children trafficked, groomed and raped. And nobody is ever going to be held accountable, and they never were going to be accountable. And the boys are still rocking up in the dinghies. We're just not talking about it anymore. So, as always, as I keep saying, self-help has to be the key. If you have a daughter, do your fucking due diligence and look after her. Because the government's not going to do it for you. And this is yet another reason to turn against woke politics, because they think the government can fix all their fucking problems. The government make them worse. If you're skint, the government will take more money off you. If your kids are in a bad way, the government will fucking bend them over and donkey one into them. There is no use relying on the government to do anything. So as usual, don't get angry about it. Don't cry and go, oh, what are we going to do? Sort your fucking life out, ladies and gentlemen. The only person who can look after your kids is you. You can't trust the state to do it. You can't trust the police to do it. You certainly can't trust the teachers and the social workers, the woke social workers and the woke teachers who basically will help the fucking grooming gangs. And you can't trust Sky News and the BBC and Guardian and Channel 4. And you can't trust Silicon Valley because they're all in on it. And they want to see swarthy Moroccans bumming your fucking kids till their heads fall off because they couldn't give a flying fuck about you, ladies and gents. So don't get angry. Just do your due diligence. Stay focused, stay switched on, look after your children, and don't rely on anybody else to do it for you. And frankly, you are a bit of a twat if you've got a daughter and you were so fucking lackadaisical about raising her that this shit happened to her. Yes, it's despicable that the powers that be assist and offer succor to the people that do it. But the primary role of raising a child is your own. So as usual, we'll end this broadcast on a fucking message of hope. And the hope is, if you're a responsible person and you're not a fucking idiot, This won't happen to your kids anyway, because you'll be switched on and you will watch them like a hawk, and you'll keep them away from sex pest teachers and woke fucking universities, and you won't fucking let them get brainwashed by the BBC and the Guardian, and you'll watch what they do on the internet, and you won't allow them to get gorilla fucked by a swarthy foreign gentleman, because you're fully aware of the facts. And the fact is, the woke have conquered the fucking world and have finished their march through the institutions, and there's nothing we can do about it. So don't cry about it. Just be sensible and look after your kids. Because if you don't, they'll be off to Rotherham, folded into the back of a minibus. And when they get above the kebab shop, they'll be getting folded over again. All right? Not good, is it? Look after yourself. Look after your kids. Fuck the government and the elites and Susan and Silicon Valley and the Guardian and the BBC, most of all the BBC, because at least the rest of them we aren't paying for ourselves. But the BBC, we are actually funding with our own money. If you pay your license fee, stop paying it. Stop paying it. If you pay your license fee, you should feel guilty. You should feel as guilty as one of those blokes from Rotherham with a penchant for buggery. So stop doing it. All right. I am off, ladies and gentlemen. That was a somewhat somber end to the show, but it's hard to come up with quips when you're talking about fucking industrial child abuse, isn't it? All right, cheers everyone. I will see you. It's Friday tomorrow. Oh yeah, I'll do one tomorrow. I'm not on until tomorrow evening. So yeah, I'll do one tomorrow because I treat you lot. I do. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Good night.